What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're talking Port Adelaide's worst trades in AFL history. Obviously, I just want to point out that all these players were respected and loved when they were part of the Port Adelaide Football Club. This is mainly based on the fact that we got the raw end of the stick in terms of the trade, and obviously sending off picks and players and seeing exactly who won that trade. So it's more like losing trade deals more than worst, but you can't think of any better title. So without further ado, let's get into Port Adelaide's worst trades in AFL history. So number 5 on the list, obviously we're doing a top 5. So number 5 on the list for worst trades for Port Adelaide since being in the AFL is Jay Nash. We traded pick 24 to Essendon and we received Jay Nash, who ended up playing only the 8 games for Port. And meanwhile, pick 24 ended up being Jake Carlisle, who obviously now plays for St Kilda and is starting to really find his feet. Obviously, Jay Nash has been delisted quite a few years ago and never really made a mark on Port Adelaide. So yeah, that's number 5. Number 4 on the list for Port Adelaide's worst trades in trade period history is Brent Renouf. The bloke that was brought in to be a ruckman, who ended up being Matthew Loby's right-hand man, essentially. Played a couple of games together. He ended up playing 16 games, kicked a couple of goals between the 2012 and 2014 period, never really made a mark again. We traded pick 33 to the Hawks, who ended up being Brad Hill, who now obviously plays for Fremantle and is making a real mark. And obviously Brent's been delisted, which is unfortunate for him, but we move on. So fortunately, Brent Renouf has been out of the system for 4 years now, and Brad Hill is still making a mark at Freo. So I think we got the raw end of stick on that one. Number 3 on the list for Port Adelaide's worst trades would have to be right up there with one of the worst in history for any club. Tom Harley. We traded back in 1999, 98, something around there. We traded him to Geelong. We got pick 37 and it ended up being a bloke named Adam Morgan, which most of you will probably never know. He played 3 games for Port in the 2000 to 2002 period. Didn't make an impact whatsoever. Ended up at the Bulldogs, surprisingly. Ended up playing half a dozen games there as well. And yeah, it never really made a mark. And I think that was probably one of the worst trades we've ever done. Tom Harley, obviously, as we know, went on to be a premiership star at Geelong, playing 300 odd games. So definitely didn't quite work that one out, did we? Which is unfortunate. But sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Number 2 on the list for Port Adelaide's worst trades is Nathan Loney. Now, when I put this in the group discussion on Facebook, a lot of people mentioned this one. Nathan Loney, we traded pick 14 to Hawthorn, and we received obviously Nathan Loney, who ended up playing 40 games for Port, 16 goals across the 2005 to 2008 period. Never made an impact, as I said. Played in that 2007 grand final year. Probably was his best year, as were a lot of players during that season. But the most disappointing thing is the fact that Hawthorn ended up with pick 14. And I don't think Nathan Loney is worth pick 14 in any era. And they drafted Grant Birchall, who's still playing for Hawthorn. He's a 3-time or 4-time premiership star, and he's one of the most decorated halfback flankers in the modern era. So a bad move on that one from Port Adelaide itself. Nathan was obviously, it was a good player, but yeah, as I keep saying, didn't make an impact at Port, and unfortunately doesn't play AFL footy anymore, as Grant Birchall does, and is an absolute star. So Didn't get that one right, did we, Port fans? So number one, the worst trade in history by Port Adelaide. I think you all know where I'm going with this one. Sean Burgoyne traded to Hawthorn for pick 9, who we ended up with Andrew Moore, and we also got pick 16, and we ended up with Jasper Pittard. Now, disregard the fact that we got Andrew Moore and Jasper Pittard. The fact is we traded Sean Burgoyne, a club champion, a premiership player, an absolute star. Lucky Jasper's still playing. Andrew Moore, we traded to Richmond, who is now being delisted. He only played 55 games for Port, kicked 18 goals, and didn't make an impact at all. He was, a lot of people describe as the golden class bloke who didn't quite make it and kept getting chances and he never took them. So, yeah, that is the worst trade, I will say. Sean Burgoyne, now a 300 plus game star, more decorated at Hawthorn than he was at Port, and I reckon he could have taken Port closer in those early 2000 years, and we might have not gone through any of that trouble. I'm not saying a player makes a difference, but much love, and obviously we lost Peter in 09, and I'm guessing that's why Sean left, and it stings a bit. But we make these mistakes, we move on, new team, and just got to get things right. But that is Port Adelaide's worst trade in AFL history, in my opinion, and it had to be a decorated champion, didn't it? Right, Port fans, that is Port Adelaide's worst trades for AFL in the AFL. Thank you very much to everyone who commented in the Facebook page. I'll leave a link if you've got Facebook and you haven't joined our massive community as part of the Portress Facebook group, ThePear and the Magpies. So join that, get in the discussions. Let me know your thoughts on Port Adelaide's worst trades in AFL history in the comments below. If you have not subscribed yet and you're a Port fan, please hit that button. We are on the move, 330. I didn't even say thank you for 300 last week, and I really appreciate it. To everyone in the comment section who continues to comment, who continues to support in this off-season, I never would have thought we'd get this much, traffic as such, especially in the off-season when everyone's moving on to their off-season, credentials? No, not credentials. Activities. Quick shout out to Zane Vlogs Cook, if I've got that right. I'm a man of the people, so why not give a shout out. Also, comment below. I've been requested a few times a Q&A. Now, 330 subscribers could be one. Might save it for a more special milestone, maybe 500 if we can get there. And if you want a Q&A, comment below. Hashtag ThePear Q&A. Simple as that. Hashtag ThePear Q&A. Actually, I might put it in there and everyone like it. That's what I'll do. Beginning of the video, I'll put it in there. Hashtag ThePear Q&A. And if I deem that a certain amount of likes will happen, or even you comment say yes, do a Q&A. Then we might do one maybe before Christmas. I don't know. Really, I'm not a Q&A type. I don't know what you want to know. I'm just rambling now. Ports Podcast, 8 p.m. Wednesdays. We probably won't do every Wednesday because the silly season's starting to become an end. We are on live tonight, so join in. The link is in the description below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. They're all in there as well if you want to see what I get up to in the off season. Not that it's any important. Snapchat as well. That's basically it. That's me rambling. Obviously, our trade period is basically done. I'll wrap that up over the coming days to discuss all the good players we've got in, all the talent, and moving on to the draft, which is in a month's time. Thank you very much for watching, Port fans. My name's Anthony, and obviously, go the power.